If you're in Miami right now, you can definitely feel it. The flags are everywhere. The fan zones are packed. Every restaurant seems to have the game on. The city has a different energy, and honestly, I love seeing it. But while everyone else is watching what's happening on the field, I've been watching something completely different. I've been watching the real estate market, and what's happening there is just as interesting. Because events like the World Cup don't just bring us tourists. They bring future homeowners, investors, and people who end up falling in love with Miami for the first time. So the question I keep getting asked is, does the World Cup actually make this a good time to buy real estate in Miami? Or is all the excitement creating more hype than opportunity? I'm Rebeca Cruz, a luxury real estate agent here in Miami with Compass. And today I want to break down what the 2026 FIFA World Cup really means for real estate in Miami. Not the headlines, not the hype, but what's actually happening on the ground. Let's start with the first act. More than 5 million visitors are expected to come through South Florida during the World Cup window, generating somewhere between $1.5 and $2.1 billion in economic impact for this region. To put that in perspective, that's more than double the economic impact of the Super Bowl in Miami in 2020. But here's the real difference. The Super Bowl lasts a weekend. The World Cup has kept Miami in front of a global audience for weeks. 7 matches at the Miami Stadium. Fans from all over the world, millions of people experiencing this city in actual person, many for the very first time. And that's the part that really matters. Because some of those visitors aren't just here to watch soccer. They're walking through Brickell, they're spending time in Coconut Grove, they're having dinner in Coral Gables, they're seeing neighborhoods they may have only ever seen on Instagram before. And for some of them, this is their first time they've ever thought, I could actually live here in Miami. As a real estate agent, that's what I pay attention to. Real estate decisions almost never happen overnight. People visit, they explore, they picture themselves somewhere, and then months later, they buy. The World Cup isn't creating demand for Miami. It's putting Miami in front of millions of people who may never have visited otherwise. And that is a very different conversation. Now, if you already own property here, especially something approved for short-term rentals, this has probably been one of the strongest rental windows you've seen in years. The data has been very clear. Short-term rental demand in Miami spiked between 54 and 118% over 1 year on match days, according to AirDNA. Nightly rates for quarterfinal weekends reached as high as $346. Hotel rates in downtown Miami surged by as much as 300% on the busiest nights. The Brazil versus Scotland match alone generated over 12,000 nights booked on short-term rental platforms before the game even kicked off. If your property is in the right location and it's been managed well, this has been a genuinely strong opportunity. But I also want to be realistic with you because some of the coverage has made it sound like every rental owner was guaranteed to see enormous returns, and that's simply not been true across the board. The properties that have performed best have been in Brickell, downtown, Miami Beach, Doral, and Aventura. Areas that are convenient, well located, and appealing to international visitors. Properties outside those corridors have seen more mixed results. And honestly, that's how real estate always works. Location still matters. Presentation always matters. Pricing still matters. The World Cup didn't change those fundamentals. It's just made them more visible. That's something I tell investors all of the time. Owning a successful short-term rental is a business decision. It's not a passive one. The owners who treat it like a business constantly outperform the ones who assume the market will do all of the work. Now, here's the part that I think is actually the most important story coming out of this World Cup, and it has very little to do with short-term rental rates. The real story is who came here. Think about where many of these visitors are from. Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, Portugal, Uruguay, Saudi Arabia. countries that have consistently been among Miami's strongest international buyer markets for years. These aren't random tourists. Many of them already know Miami. Many have family here. Some have businesses here. The World Cup simply gave them another reason to visit us. And when people spend a week or two walking through neighborhoods instead of just scrolling past them on a screen, something changes. They start to imagining a life here. And that's how real estate decisions often begin. Not with a listing, not with an MLS search, with a feeling, with someone walking through a neighborhood and thinking, I could see myself here. That's one of the most powerful moments in real estate, and it's something no marketing campaign can manufacture. The data backs this up. International buyers accounted for more than 50% of new construction and pre-construction condo sales across major South Florida developments over the past 2 years. International buyers spent $4.4 billion on South Florida residential real estate in 2025 alone, up 42% from the year before. Miami housing prices have increased 71.3% since 2018, when the World Cup hosting rights were first awarded. The World Cup didn't create that demand. It gave Miami an extraordinary opportunity to showcase itself to the exact audience that has been driving this market for years. And there's one specific development I want to make sure you know about, because I don't think it's gotten nearly enough attention. FIFA chose Coral Gables for its new regional headquarters. They opened a 60,000 square foot office at 396 Alhambra Circle and relocated over 100 employees from their Zurich operations. This isn't a temporary tournament setup. This is a long-term institutional investment in Miami as a global city. And it's happening at the same time Miami is preparing to host the G20 summit in December. These are not isolated events. They are a part of a sustained pattern of global organizations choosing Miami as a permanent base. More international companies, more international talent, and naturally, more housing demand. Does that mean prices only go up from here? Of course not. Real estate doesn't work that way. Markets move in cycles. Interest rates matter, inventory matters, affordability always matters. But when I look at the long-term picture, I see a city that is attracting people from around the world at a level very few American cities can match. And that's why these moments matter, not because they guarantee appreciation, but because they reinforce the reasons people choose Miami in the first place. So should you actually buy during the World Cup? This is the question I've been getting the most. And my honest answer is maybe. I know that's not the dramatic answer most people are looking for, but it's the truthful one. If you're thinking about buying because you're afraid of missing your chance before the World Cup ends, I wouldn't make a decision based off of that. The World Cup lasts a few weeks. Buying real estate is a decision you'll live with for a few years. Those are two very different timelines, and they shouldn't be confused. On the other hand, if you're already planning to buy and you're here right now experiencing the city, this is actually a wonderful time to explore. Let's walk the neighborhoods, spend time in Brickell, in the Grove, in Coral Gables. See what Miami actually feels like when they're hosting the world. And then come back after the tournament and ask yourself whether you can actually picture your everyday life here. Because excitement eventually fades. Lifestyle doesn't. That's what you're really buying. Not just four walls, not just an investment. You're buying into a community. You're buying into a routine. You're buying into the way your life will actually look on a Tuesday morning when there's no game on and the flags have all come down. That's a much better reason to buy than chasing a headline. Now, the World Cup will eventually end, the crowds will leave, the fan zones will come down, but that's when I'll actually be paying the closest attention. I'll be watching whether international inquiries increase over the next 6 to 12 months. I'll be watching pre-construction condo activity from buyers in Brazil, Colombia, Argentina, and Portugal. I'll be watching relocation patterns from people who came here for the games and left thinking seriously about something more permanent, because historically, that's when the real estate story really begins. Not when everyone arrives, but after they've gone home and started having real conversations about what they experienced here in Miami. That's the part of the market most people never see, and it's the part I've been preparing for all summer. So if you've been wondering whether the World Cup actually changes Miami real estate, my answer is yes, but probably not in the way most people think. The biggest opportunity isn't the tournament itself. It's the long-term attention Miami is receiving from exactly the kind of buyers who have been driving this market for many years. If you're already a homeowner, this has been a very meaningful window to benefit from elevated demand. If you're thinking about buying, don't let the excitement rush your decision. Use this time to learn the city, explore the neighborhoods, figure out which lifestyle fits you best, and then make a decision based on your goals, not a soccer tournament. If you're thinking about buying or selling in Miami and you'd like to talk through what makes sense for your situation, I would love to connect. My contact information is in the description. And stay tuned for my video on Miami International Airport. That one is coming next week. You might be surprised by what's happening there and what it means for the city long term. I'll see you there. According to Air Brazil, Argentina, in Brazil, Colombia, Argentina, and Portugal. I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't say Argentina. From the Zurich, I can't say it. The decision that you'll live with for the rest now. I'll be watching pre-construction condo activity from buyers in Brazil, Colombia. I got stage fright. Colombia.